next up is Brent Belcher. He'll be talking about how to be safe on an airplane.
Okay, you ready?
So begin when you're ready.
It's almost spring break. We're all going to be getting on airplanes July this. Well, I just want to make sure we all know exactly what we need to know to be safe on an airplane. When you get on that airplane, you'll notice there are emergency exits, probably about 6 of them, 2 in the front, 2 in the rear, and 2 over the wings. Make sure you locate the 2 exits. Keeping in mind that she's may be behind you. And our lighting system will lead you to these exits. White lights lead to red lights. And the location of the exits, there are also overhead signs. If you choose an emergency exit row, know that you will be called upon to assist the crew in the event of an emergency. If you are unable to assist the crew in the event of an emergency, find another seat. The cabin is pressurized for your safety and comfort in the unlikely event of a loss of action. Place that mask over your nose and mouth and oxygen will be flowing to the mask with the back of your neck. And remember to secure your own mask before attempting to assist others. Smoking is prohibited throughout the cabin and in the laboratory. Destroying the laboratory smoke detector is a federal crime. Your seat bottom cushion may be used as a flotation device. Pull up on the seat bottom cushion, thread your arms to the straps, head for the exits. Do not take anything with you. And federal law requires your cooperation with all posted placards, illuminated signs, and crew member instructions. Chief among these is the fasten seatbelt sign. Whenever that sign is illuminated, you need to stay seated with your seatbelt fastened low and tight around your waist. To fasten your seatbelt, place the metal top of the buckle. Pull on the loose end to tighten, and to release, pull up on the buckle. And there you go. Now you can thank me for when you arrive safely at your destination. But once you get there, exercise caution when you open those damn overhead bins because items.
Okay, next up is Dylan Allegretti on the polarization of light for once an actual serious topic.
Hey, sugar is serious. Don't be joking about airplanes.
Okay, begin when you're ready.
Okay. My name is Dylan Allegretti, and I'll be lecturing on the polarization of light. These objects I brought with me are called linear polarizing films, and they have the property that if you superimpose them one way, light passes through. And if you rotate one by 90 degrees, then no light passes through. We know that light consists of particles called photons, and we can explain this phenomenon by saying that photons in a certain state are allowed to pass through the first polarizer, but photons in that particular state of polarization can't pass through a second polarizer whose optical axis is perpendicular to the first. However, we can't view these things as simple filters because if we insert a third polarizer in the middle with its optical axis at 45 degrees with respect to the original two, then light passes through. So the fact of the matter is that photons are quantum mechanical particles that don't behave deterministically. So there's no rule for deciding whether a given photon will pass through a polarizer, but as long as the axis of the polarizer is not perpendicular to the one immediately preceding it, there's a non-zero probability that it will pass through. So in this way, quantum mechanics explains this strange phenomenon, but we're forced to give up the determinism of our everyday experience. Thank you. Questions?
10 seconds. So.
Oh.
Good break.
What the fuck? Okay, next up is Colin Seaton, who will be lecturing about StarCraft.
Before we start, I'd like to be more specific. I've refined the scope of my talk to the relationship between StarCraft ability and sex appeal based on nationality. Okay, so at first I need to start by defining some terms. Starting with APM. APM is actions per minute. That's the number of things a StarCraft player does in a given minute. Roughly correlates to a StarCraft player's ability. That is, like the best StarCraft players have the highest APM. Okay. Right, so for those of you who don't know, StarCraft is considered a major league sport in South Korea where they have 2 television channels dedicated entirely to StarCraft. Right, so I would like to then show the difference between the way American and Korean culture view StarCraft based on sex appeal. Okay, to do this I had to invent a term called log R sub x, okay? Or native log R sub x, where R sub x is the ratio of sex appeal of subject X over sex appeal of Nathan Bartley. So like the pH scale, as negative log R sub x nears 0, the sex appeal of subject X nears that of Nathan Bartley. Okay, so in Korea, it's something like this, right? So that as your APM or your StarCraft ability increases, you become increasingly more sexy. Now there are outliers. I'm sorry I don't have a bigger picture, but this giant teddy bear of a man is July Zerg. Oh god, I'm running out of time. Okay, well anyway. And then, so it's roughly the opposite in America, something like this. Outlier being Nathan Bartley, who is the only known person with a negative log Rx of 1.0.
Next up is Stephen LaRue, who will be talking about universal mass copy.
Something also kind of
Have you
serious.
noticed all these businesses are killjoys? Yeah, that's great.
I'm sorry we don't have a projector, so I'm just going to have to use this. If you can't see it, I'll try to this for part of it.
Begin when you're ready.
Okay. So there's something that we observe when we look at the galaxy. We notice that this dotted line here is what you would expect for particles rotating. You would expect things to get slower as you go out. However, this solid line right here pretty much shows that that doesn't happen. Scientists were like, what the fuck is this? They rotated about 220 kilometers per second from the center of the galaxy on outwards. So what you do is you notice that the galaxy is pretty much in some sort of equilibrium. So you take the centripetal force and set it equal to the gravitational force, act a little bit of cancellation. You show that the velocity, seeing as how that is constant, is directly proportional to the mass divided by the radius, which states that as the radius increases, mass also increases. However, what we observe is that as the radius increases, luminosity decreases. Therefore, as the luminosity decreases, mass increases, there must be a non-luminous component of the mass, and hence dark matter. That's really it. That's really it. Questions? Questions?
Why dark matter?
What?
Why dark matter?
Whips and machos.
How dark is it?
Yes, it's so dark you can't see it. You can observe it through gravitational interactions.
Does Aaron Space know what dark matter is?
Not yet.
Excellent.
One fudge? Oh, sorry.
Wait, seriously, are you offering to bring me fudge?
Yes.
Yes, please. Thank you. One, please. Thank you. Noah, you rock. You are so awesome. You are so awesome. Sorry. But thank you.
Anyone want to?
Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. That was great.
Lean forward. Katie's right behind you.
I am perfectly dark. I'm backup. I don't think I am. I don't know if I am.
Okay.
Lindström theorem.
I was gonna say,
Been done.
explain some fundamental property of
Been done. I think I'll summarize Marshall. I think I'll summarize the works of Marshall Proust. Don't spoil it, man.
I've never learned, like, I've always learned about, like, I've been reading the whole books.
I come to the end of the 7th book this cycle, and the ending page is so bad, it is not the ending that I possibly justify reading 7 books. Like, it is just bad.
Dude, is that the 7th of 7, or?
7th of 7, yeah. I looked at the last book, the last page of the last book, and they're like, wow, I don't want to get to this point. Like, you look at the last page of Ulysses, which unfortunately I did when I was really young, and it was stupid, it was pretty dumb. But you get to this ending, like, he still has enough power that you're like, wow, okay, I want to actually read the book and get guys! So because we can't actually the project because she's currently cutting it. Okay, 5 minute pre-record. No. Loose fingers. Eat fudge, loose fingers. This person is